Welcome to this presentation of how to know when a market has changed trend. This is the Specialist Trading Weekly Stock, E-mini, and Forex lesson. Hello everyone and welcome once again. My name is Stephen Primo. I am the president and founder of Specialist Trading. And in this week's video lesson, I'll give you some examples of a new tool we have at Specialist Trading that does a great job of revealing just when the market has changed trend. But before we begin, as always, I ask that you please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to show you some performance results using this new tool, but please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of these results will be repeated in the future. So please take a moment to view our disclaimer, and then we shall begin this week's stock, E-mini, and Forex lesson. All right, now from time to time I hear from students and from other traders alike who often pose to me this question. They'll look at a chart or bring up a stock or some type of contract or something that you can trade, and they'll say, Steve, if I had only known. Usually these equities or futures contracts or the currency pairs have had a large run either up or down, and you'll look back in hindsight and say, boy, if I had only known that it was going to have this great of a run, if there was something that could have warned me, I could have really hit the jackpot with a lot of these trades. Well, here's some examples. We'll start off with Tesla right off the bat. As we know, this stock has been in the news as of late. It's had a tremendous run. There's been a lot of great fundamental news about the company, how it's paid back either all or a good portion of its loan, and the company's really soaring. And someone would look back and go, boy, if I had only known, because just a couple of months ago, this was a $30, $35 stock, and now it's nearly tripled in value. Or even on a smaller time scale, you can look at the E-mini futures contract. Here's a 5-minute chart of the E-mini. Just looking back a week or so ago, one could have taken advantage of this had they known that we were going to have this tremendous rally in the market. Roughly at 1600, you could have purchased some contracts to go along the E-mini, and just the next day you would have had a 40-point gain that comes out to roughly about $2,000 per contract in just 24 hours. And then lastly, for those currency pair traders out there, someone looking at the Australian dollar, they could say, boy, if I had only known it just keeps going lower and lower. I didn't like the Australian dollar currency pair, but I didn't know it was going to be this negative. And seeing here on this tremendous sell-off in the Australian dollar for the last month or so, you could have made several thousands of dollars just trading one lot. So once again, seeing things like this, which happen from time to time, you're always going to see examples of this. People always come to me and say, boy, Steve, if I had only known, if I had only known that this stock or this future or this currency pair was going to do this. And I always say, well, if you had only known about the PET D, that's my answer. And people will say, I don't understand. If I had only known, is that a stock or is that a new future? No. What exactly is the PET D? Well, it's the new tool I'm talking about. It's the Primo Early Trend Detector. This is the new trend guidance tool that we have at Specialist Trading, and it does a tremendous job of spotting many trend changes before they actually happen. Now, let me just explain firstly what it is not. The PET D is not an indicator nor a strategy, all right? So you can't take signals off it or you can't trade off it, but it's a unique color bar algorithm, and it's based on momentum, and it's designed to show you in advance when a trend has most likely begun. So we say most likely because this isn't 100% accurate, nothing is, but it does a great job of really giving you a high probability a display of when the trend may change. And this works not only in uptrends but in downtrends. It also works whether you're looking at equities, whether you're looking at intraday E-mini charts, futures charts, or whether you're looking at weekly or monthly charts of the currency pairs. Now, how does it do this? Well, once again, we said it's a color bar system. It's an algorithm based on momentum. And when you have a series of green bars, this is telling you, the algorithm is telling you that we're most likely in an uptrend. Conversely, if you have a series of red bars, the algorithm is telling you that you are most likely in a downtrend. That's simple. All right, so how do we apply this? Well, looking back at Tesla again, here's the chart we looked at earlier, and someone could have looked at this and said, boy, if I had only known, I could have purchased this stock roughly around the $30 or $40 range and tripled my money, or doubled my money at least, in the next month or so. Well, let's now go from the standard chart to applying the PET D. And we see here that we have a really neat change here with the color bars. We see, looking back all the way to the end or mid portion of March, we had a series of red bars at this point, which quickly changed over into a series of green bars. So what the rule of thumb is if you see anywhere from 2 or 3 to 5 consecutive bars, that's your clue that we're most likely going to be going in that direction. Remember, red bars signify that we're going lower, green bars signify that we're going higher. So you want to see anywhere from 2 to 5 bars of the same color consecutively. All right, so we had this red consistency with the bars here in the beginning, but then we quickly changed over into green, and we had roughly 2 to 5 consecutive green bars. This was our signal that most likely a trend change was happening in Tesla at roughly about $40, and it was going to be headed higher as long as we continue to stay consecutively green. Now, as you see here later on, the bars changed every once in a while from green to red, but only for 1 bar. Remember, we're looking for 2 to 5 bars of the same color, which tells us that the trend is still intact. So this was a great example of how you could have been looking for buy signals, or could have been looking for any type of strategy that was giving you a signal to go long Tesla roughly at about the $40 range. Let's see how this applies to intraday trading of the E-mini contract. After we would have made 60 points there, we could have gone to day trading the E-mini, and we look back here on the 6th and 7th of June, the market had a tremendous run-up. The E-mini went up roughly about 40 points. How could we have taken advantage of that? Well, we go from the standard black color of the bars and we apply the PET-D, and we see here that once again we have this confluence of green bars. All right, so we're looking for anywhere from 2 to 5 bars consecutive in one color. That will tell us most likely that we're headed in that direction. So if we look back towards mid-afternoon of the 6th of June, we see here that we roughly had that consistency of 2 to 5 bars in green. This was telling us that we're most likely going to be heading much higher. Now we should look for buy signals, any type of buy setups to go along the E-mini. Had you taken advantage of this simple tool, you could have gained 24 points quite easily from that point higher. Or let's look at the Australian dollar. Once again, this currency pair has been headed consistently lower. A lot of people have been saying, boy, when's this going to bottom out? When is this going to turn around? Well, we don't care about picking bottoms or tops at specialist trading. What we're interested in is being in sync with the market. But how can we be in sync with the market? Well, we simply apply the PET-D. And as we see here, we have a confluence of red bars. Okay, red tells us that we're most likely headed lower. Now, if we look back to the end of April, we see here that we had consistency with the green bars, telling us that we were still most likely headed higher. But at this point, we had a sharp drop, and then we had anywhere from 2 to 5 bars that were consistently red. So this was telling us that the trend is most likely changed, and as long as we have anywhere from 2 to 5 bars in one color, we will most likely continue in that direction. So as you see here later on, we had 2 green bars, which could have given us a warning if we were looking to go short. But remember, this isn't a strategy. We're not simply, once we see two or 3 bars, we're not going to short or buy at the market. We're looking for setups then after that. We're going to apply a strategy to that. So just seeing 2 bars here would not have given you the insight to go long, but you would have maybe tightened up your stop, or maybe you would have stopped your search for going short. But then once again, we kick back into the red mode. And so at this point here, there were a number of specialist trading strategies I can see just offhand that could have gotten you short the Australian dollar, and you could have racked up several pips, which would have amounted to several thousands of dollars. Now, these are points to remember. As I state, this is a great tool. It's a great trend guider tool. But please remember, it's not a strategy. A lot of people will say, boy, I got 3 red bars in a row. I'm going to sell at the market. It's not the way it works. Once we see 2 to 5 bars in any particular color, that's our clue that the trend is most likely headed in that direction. But what a great edge you have knowing in advance that most likely we're going to have a strong trend in that direction. I mean, wouldn't you want to know that with Tesla or with the E-mini or with the Australian dollar? So once you have an idea of where the trend may be headed, you simply start looking for strategy setups in that direction. Okay, you need to have entry points, you need to have stop placement, and you need to have money management applied, and this all comes with strategies, which is also what we also provide at Specialist Trading. All right, in conclusion, we talked about how to know when a market has changed trend. The best tool we have for that early trend detection is the PET-D. That's the Primo early trend detector. Now, if you're interested in learning more about the PET-D or for applying it yourself, please contact our representatives at Specialist Trading and they can tell you how to get the PET-D. In closing, I ask that you please take one last look at our disclaimer. I showed you a lot of performance results using our new tool, the PET-D, but please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of these results will be repeated in the future. So as you're taking one last look at our disclaimer, thank you so much for attending this webinar. Look for us every week for giving you a new informational video, a new lesson, something to heighten your trading, and we wish you the best of luck trading the markets. Thanks a lot. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.